You're listening to the AI Creator World podcast, a place where we share insights about AI tools, content creation strategies, and the future of creators in the digital era. This podcast is designed to help you build an effective content system, grow your personal brand, and expand your opportunities to earn income online. All right, let's get started.
Staring at a completely blank blog page is, it's a highly specific kind of torture.
Oh, absolutely. It's the worst.
Right. You're sitting there, the cursor is just blinking at you, like some sort of metronome ticking away your motivation, and your brain is just totally empty. You need to write something engaging and optimized and structured. But the gap between that blank page and a finished article just feels like this unbridgeable chasm.
Yeah, and honestly, the longer you stare at that blinking cursor, the wider the chasm gets.
Exactly.
It is incredibly intimidating, particularly for beginners. They're still trying to find their footing and figure out what their actual voice even sounds like. The cognitive load of trying to be creative while simultaneously worrying about, formatting and search engine rules, it's enough to paralyze anyone.
It really is. But imagine if instead of facing that chasm alone, you had a tireless 24/7 brainstorming partner sitting right next to you.
Like a buddy who never sleeps.
Yeah. Something that doesn't judge your terrible first drafts and is always ready to jumpstart the process the second you get stuck. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We're looking at a fascinating article from AI Creator World titled 7 AI Blog Writing Tools for Beginners.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore the actual mechanics of how this works for you, the listener.
Right.
We're going to look at how new writers are using AI to conquer writer's block and untangle all the messy complexities of SEO. But I think the most crucial thread we'll be pulling on is how to do all of this without letting the machine strip away your unique, messy human voice.
Because let's be real, nobody wants to read a diary written by a generic algorithm.
No, definitely not.
But to really understand the software we're going to look at, we first have to establish the baseline reality of modern blogging. The article makes it very clear that blogging remains one of the most reliable ways to build an audience and generate an income.
Yeah, it's still highly effective.
But the barrier to entry isn't just writing well, it's consistency.
I'd say consistency is the quiet killer of most new blogs.
Oh, 100%.
When you're just starting out, you aren't merely writing a journal entry. You're trying to learn how to structure a narrative, how to format headers, and how to optimize the text so that a search engine algorithm actually decides to show it to people.
Which is a lot to juggle.
It is. Doing that day after day is a massive time drain. The learning curve is practically vertical.
So beginners are deploying AI to automate that structural grind. And we're talking about very specific, often tedious tasks here.
Right, the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. Things like generating 50 potential topic ideas in seconds, building out a logical skeleton for an article, writing those notoriously difficult introduction paragraphs, and crafting meta descriptions.
Let's actually pause on meta descriptions for a second, because I think that perfectly illustrates the mechanism at play here.
Okay, yeah.
A meta description is that tiny, 160-character snippet of text you see right under the blue link on a Google search results page. Writing them is awful for a human because it requires these super strict constraints.
Right, you have to write an enticing hook.
Yeah, a hook. Plus, you have to include specific keywords, and you have to hit an exact character limit so it doesn't get cut off.
It's essentially a math problem disguised as writing.
Precisely. Humans generally hate that kind of rigid, constrained writing, but an AI thrives on it.
It loves constraints.
It does. So by handing over these structural, formulaic tasks, beginners are drastically reducing the time spent on the mechanics of drafting. What used to take, say, 4 hours of staring at a screen can be condensed into 30 minutes of active directing.
I hear the efficiency argument. I really do, but I have to push back here.
Sure, go for it.
If you're having an AI generate the topic idea, then it builds the outline, and then it writes your intro paragraph and your meta description, aren't we just building a robotic assembly line?
That's the classic worry, yeah.
Right. Because if the machine is doing all that heavy lifting, where is the writer's actual creativity coming in?
It's the most common fear, but the philosophy driving these new workflows is entirely different. The goal isn't to replace the writer. The article frames the AI as an exoskeleton.
Okay, I understand the exoskeleton analogy. It's a suit that makes you stronger. But if the suit is doing all the walking for me, don't my own writing muscles eventually atrophy?
That's a fair concern, but think about it as shifting the cognitive load rather than replacing the muscle altogether. You're just exercising a
Yeah.
different muscle.
How so?
Well, the heavy, laborious lifting of drafting, the blank page paralysis, the formatting, the raw generation of words, that completely drains your creative battery.
Yeah, that's true.
If the exoskeleton takes on that specific burden, your battery remains fully charged for strategy, personal style, and refining your unique message. You are still driving the suit. The suit just allows you to punch through that initial wall of friction so you can actually get to the creative part.
Okay, I see the distinction. It's about conserving your creative energy for the nuanced parts of the blog that actually require a human touch, rather than burning it all just trying to get the first 200 words on the page.
But to get the right exoskeleton, you have to know how to evaluate these tools.
The source article provides a blueprint with 4 criteria for what makes a tool genuinely beginner-friendly.
The first is a simple interface, which is really about avoiding dashboard panic.
Yes, so important.
Second is the availability of free plans or trials. Third is having features specifically designed for blogging, like outline generators and paragraph expanders. And fourth is built-in support for SEO and content optimization.
It's kind of like buying your first car.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You want a clean dashboard that's your simple interface. You want a test drive, which is the free trial. And you want helpful features like parking assist, which is your SEO suggestions, to keep you from crashing into search engine obscurity.
I love that. And let's dig into that second point, the free trial. Because we often just think of free trials as a way to save money, right?
Yeah, just trying to get something for nothing.
But the article actually frames it as a core part of the learning process. Testing without financial risk is critical when you're dealing with AI.
Why is that so crucial, though?
Because you aren't just shopping for the smartest algorithm. Under the hood, a lot of these platforms run on very similar underlying language models. What you're actually shopping for is a user interface and a workflow that naturally aligns with your specific thought process.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, some people think in terms of messy, rambling conversations. Others think in terms of really rigid bullet points. You have to test the software to see if its structural logic matches your mental logic. If you pay up front, you might force yourself to use a tool that actually adds friction to your process.
So you have to find the tool that thinks the way you think.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So with that framework in mind, let's actually open up the toolbox. The article breaks these down into 2 distinct categories. Let's start with the first group, which addresses the problem of the blank page and finding your voice. We can call them the generalists: ChatGPT, Copy.ai, and WriteER.
ChatGPT is essentially the baseline here. It operates on a conversational interface, which makes it incredibly intuitive.
Right, you're not filling out forms.
No, you're literally just chatting with it. It's highly effective for open-ended brainstorming, generating long-form content, or even just asking it to rewrite a clunky sentence you've been struggling with.
It's like the ultimate digital sounding board.
Definitely. But then we move to Copy.ai. Now, this tool has its roots in generating marketing copy, but it's evolved to solve a very specific problem for beginner bloggers, which is the problem of tone.
Tone is so hard to get right.
It is, and Copy.ai has features that allow you to dictate multiple writing tones. Tone matching is a fascinating mechanism.
How does it actually work?
Well, when a beginner writes, they often sound really stiff, like they're writing an academic paper for school. A tool like Copy.ai analyzes the semantic structure of words. So if you ask it for a witty and conversational tone, it doesn't just, throw in random jokes.
Right.
It actually changes the sentence length, uses more active verbs, and selects vocabulary that feels much less formal. It helps beginners who have a great idea but just don't quite know how to express it in a relaxed, engaging way.
That's amazing. And rounding out the generalists is WriteER. The article specifically highlights WriteER as a lightweight writing assistant, noting its simplicity makes it perfect for absolute beginners.
Yes, it's a very streamlined.
But let me ask you this. When we say lightweight in the context of AI, does that just mean it's less capable? Like, is it a dumbed-down version of the bigger models?
Not at all. Lightweight here refers entirely to workflow efficiency, not a lack of intelligence. Let's look at the friction of a blank chat box for a second.
Okay.
For some people, staring at ChatGPT's empty prompt bar is just as terrifying as staring at a blank blog page.
Yeah.
You have to invent the perfect prompt to get a good result.
Yeah, it's true. You kind of have to know how to talk to it.
Right. WriteER removes that friction by removing the complex dials and levers. It provides highly structured drop-down templates.
So instead of having to type act as an expert blogger and write a 300-word introduction about running shoes using a persuasive tone, Writer just gives you a button.
Exactly. The button that says blog intro, a drop down for running shoes, and a toggle for persuasive, it completely removes the cognitive load of prompt engineering. It gives you exactly what you need to get words onto the screen quickly without overthinking the setup.
That is brilliant for someone who just wants to break the ice and start.
Yeah.
But what if your ambitions go beyond just getting a few drafts done?
And you need to level up.
Right. If the generalists are for overcoming initial friction, what happens when you want to scale up? What if your goal is to conquer Google search rankings and build this massive content empire?
That brings us to the second category of tools, which are built to solve the problems of scaling and visibility. We can call them the specialists: Jasper AI, WriteSonic, ScaleNut, and Notion AI.
Let's tackle the scaling problem first with Jasper AI. The article points out that Jasper is really engineered for producing high-quality content at scale.
Yeah, Jasper is a powerhouse. Maintaining a consistent brand voice across 50 or 100 articles is exhausting for a solo beginner.
I can only imagine.
Jasper allows you to deeply customize that brand voice so the AI sounds like you consistently, even if you're publishing every single day.
Okay, so that's scale. Then we step into the visibility problem with the SEO heavyweights: WriteSonic and ScaleNut. Getting noticed by search engines is a highly technical endeavor.
It really is. WriteSonic focuses on rapid SEO-optimized article generation, but ScaleNut goes much deeper into the actual architecture of how search engines rank content.
Walk me through that. What is ScaleNut actually doing behind the scenes that makes it such an SEO specialist?
It's performing competitive mathematical analysis. Let's say you want to write an article about the best indoor plants.
Okay.
ScaleNut will instantly scrape the top 10 articles currently ranking on Google for that exact phrase. It analyzes their text to find the mathematical commonalities.
Oh, instantly.
Yes, it counts exactly how many times they use certain secondary keywords, it analyzes how many H2 and H3 subheadings they use, and it even evaluates their reading level. Then it gives you a precise mathematical blueprint to build an article that matches or beats that structure.
That is incredibly powerful. And the last specialist on our list is Notion AI, which tackles a completely different problem: workflow fragmentation. It's integrated directly into the Notion workspace.
Think about the typical research process. You usually have like 15 browser tabs open, a separate notes app on your phone, and a totally different writing app on your computer.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
Notion AI acts like a sous chef who already lives in your kitchen. If you use Notion to collect your research and links, the AI is sitting right there. You can highlight your messy notes and ask it to summarize them or generate an outline without ever switching windows.
I love that sous chef analogy because the ingredients are already on the counter.
Exactly.
But I want to go back to WriteSonic and ScaleNut for a moment. If Notion AI is the helpful sous chef, ScaleNut sounds like hiring a ruthless, mathematically obsessed SEO consultant.
That's a pretty fair comparison.
Here is my concern, though.
Right.
If every beginner reads this article, and they all start using these specialist tools to scrape the exact same top 10 articles, and they all hit the exact same keyword density and heading structures, won't all blogs eventually sound absolutely identical? Are we just marching toward an internet filled with perfectly optimized, incredibly boring sameness?
That is the most critical question of this entire space, and it addresses the core limitations of AI that the source warns about. Yes, if you rely entirely on the software, you will absolutely produce identical, boring content.
So how do you avoid that?
Well, the specialized tools provide the mathematical baseline. They ensure the search engine algorithm can read and categorize your work. But the tools only provide the skeleton.
The math gets you noticed by the search engine.
Exactly. But your messy human edit is the only way to actually keep a human reading. The AI cannot inject your lived experiences, your personal anecdotes, or your unique perspective on why, a certain indoor plant is actually terrible for pet owners based on a mistake you made last year.
It doesn't know your life.
No, it doesn't. The mathematical baseline gets you in the door, but the human element is what builds an actual audience.
That transitions us perfectly into the final and I think most practical part of our deep dive. Having a toolbox full of high-end software means nothing if you don't know how to swing the hammer.
Very true.
The source provides some really grounded advice on how beginners should actually operate these platforms day to day.
And the foundational skill there is prompt writing. The AI is simply a mirror of your instructions. If you type a vague prompt like, Write a post about fitness, you're going to get a painfully generic outcome.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. A functional prompt requires a role, a context, and a constraint. You have to say something like, act as an experienced marathon runner, write a 500-word post about the mental hurdles of the last 3 miles, and use a highly encouraging tone.
So the output is truly only as good as the input. But the piece of advice that really stood out to me was the concept of the modular workflow. The article suggests combining multiple AI tools for a better result.
Yes, a modular approach.
At first glance, juggling 3 different pieces of software sounds like it completely defeats the purpose of saving time. Haven't I just created a new, much more complicated grind?
It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But let's break down the psychology of what a modular workflow actually looks like in practice. The goal isn't to find a single magic button that takes you from a blank page to a published article.
Right.
Relying on one tool for everything usually results in mediocre quality across the board. The goal is to build a customized pipeline that leverages the specific strength of different tools at different stages of your creative process.
Okay, walk me through the exact steps of that pipeline. If I'm a beginner, what does this actually look like on a Tuesday morning when I need to write a post?
Okay, phase 1 is brainstorming, which is inherently chaotic. You might start with ChatGPT because its conversational nature is perfect for messy ideation. You spend 10 minutes just throwing half-baked ideas at it until something interesting sticks.
Okay.
Once you have a solid concept, you transition to phase 2, which is organization.
Right, moving from chaos to structure.
Exactly. You take that messy concept and move it into Notion AI, where your research lives. You use Notion's integration to pull from your notes and build a rigid, highly logical outline. You establish your headings and your core arguments.
So now I have a structured skeleton.
Yes. And finally, you move to phase 3. Generation and polish. You take that perfectly structured outline and run it through a tool like WriteSonic or ScaleNet. You apply the mathematical SEO layer to generate the draft, ensuring you hit the right keywords for visibility.
I see.
You aren't juggling 3 tools at once. You're deliberately passing the baton from one specialist to the next.
It's like you're building an assembly line, but you aren't the worker tightening the bolts on the line. You're the factory manager.
That's a perfect way to frame it.
You're dictating the workflow, controlling the quality at every single transition, and doing the final human edit before it ships.
And operating as the manager is incredibly empowering. It shifts your mental energy from the exhausting labor of typing every single word to the high-level work of directing ideas and shaping the final narrative.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's recap the terrain we've covered today. The underlying message across all this research is that AI tools offer beginners a profound shortcut. They completely automate the structural, terrifying elements of the blank page so that you can actually focus your energy on creativity and strategy.
And if you're just starting out, remember to evaluate the tools based on your own mental workflow. Start with simple interfaces and free trials. Play around with generalists like ChatGPT or WriteTry just to break the ice.
Get the hang of it first.
Exactly. As your needs scale and visibility becomes your primary challenge, then you can graduate to the heavy-duty SEO platforms. But the golden rule remains. The AI is your assistant, not your replacement. You must verify the facts, and you must do the heavy human editing required to make the text sing.
It's about letting the machine handle the math while you handle the soul.
Beautifully said.
It is an incredibly exciting time to be a writer, but it also leaves us staring down a rather philosophical horizon. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on the mechanics we've explored today.
It's the inevitable question as these models evolve, isn't it?
Exactly. We've established that AI automates the repetitive tasks to free up your human creativity. But as these tools get sharper, as they learn to perfectly mimic your tone, your pacing, your structure, and even your sense of humor, what exactly will constitute human creativity in writing 5 years from now?
Right. When the machine can perfectly replicate style, what is actually left for the human?
Will true creativity just be our messy, contradictory lived experiences, the mistakes we've made, and the highly specific lessons we've learned? Or will human expression evolve into something else entirely, a new way of communicating that we can't even predict yet? Leave that bouncing around in your head the next time you find yourself staring into the abyss of a blank page. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
You're listening to the AI Creator World podcast, a place where we share insights about AI tools, content creation strategies, and the future of creators in the digital era. This podcast is designed to help you build an effective content system, grow your personal brand, and expand your opportunities to earn income online.